I remember the smirk. The same one he used when we were kids, and he'd steal the last piece of pie, acting like it was a joke. But this time, it wasn't dessert. It was my life savings. My brother didn't even flinch when I confronted him. He leaned back, hands behind his head, and said, "Then you won't mind what's coming next." 2 hours later, the cops kicked down his front door. Have you ever been betrayed by your own blood? Tell me in the comments and hit like if you believe karma runs in the family. I grew up in Portland. Our parents owned a small hardware store, and from the time I could walk, I was helping behind the counter. My brother, Jason, was the charming one, the risk taker, the life of every party. I was the steady one. I saved every dollar from my summer jobs, worked my way through business school, and eventually launched Coleman Designs, my own boutique for sustainable, locally made menswear. The first years nearly broke me. 18-hour days, ramen for dinner, sleeping in the back room between orders. But I pushed through. And finally, the business started to bloom. Then tragedy hit. A drunk driver ran a red light, killing both our parents instantly. Jason and I were left to sort out the estate. When everything settled, we each inherited $75,000. I invested mine into my store. Jason? He invested his into poker nights, vacations, and a woman he barely knew, Amber, the new sister-in-law I never asked for. She was all gloss and glitter, quick smiles, and quicker spending. Jason called her his lucky charm. I called her trouble. At their wedding, he clinked his glass and toasted, "To family, because when one of us wins, we all win." I remember thinking, yeah. Until one of us loses. 5 years later, business was booming. I just signed the lease for a second boutique. The $120,000 in my account was the seed for expansion. Years of sacrifice finally paying off. That's when Jason called. Family reunion, man. The old lake house. Everyone'll be there. You can finally relax. I should have known better. But I went. When I arrived, Amber hugged me with perfume and fake affection. Jason slapped my back. "Still playing dress up with those shirts?" "Actually," I said, "we just doubled our sales." He laughed like that was cute. Amber's eyes flicked toward him for approval before she smiled again. It made my stomach turn. That night, I opened my laptop in my room to check an invoice. Immediately, I noticed something off. The charger was plugged into a different port. My gut tightened. I checked my email, nothing strange. Then came the alert, new login attempt. Failed from an unrecognized device. Someone had tried to get in. I changed every password, set up two-factor authentication, and locked my laptop in my bag. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling. The next morning, chaos. My business partner, Claire, called in panic. "David, our vendor payment bounced. It says zero balance." I froze. Opened my banking app. Checking, $0. Savings, $0. Business account, zero. Gone, all of it. Over $120,000. Vanished overnight. I stared at the numbers until they blurred. It wasn't a glitch. It wasn't random. It was someone who knew my security questions, someone close. When I walked into the kitchen, the whole family was mid-breakfast. Jason was sipping coffee, scrolling his phone. Amber smiled like a cat in sunlight. "My money's gone," I said flatly. "Gone?" Uncle Robert asked. "What do you mean?" I showed them my phone. Transfers between 11:42 p.m. and 4:15 a.m. Authorized device. Correct password. Jason didn't even look up. "Maybe your partner screwed up the books." "Show me your bank app," I said. His smirk twitched. "I don't owe you proof of anything." That was enough. The air changed. Amber's hands trembled around her mug. Jason placed a possessive hand over hers, and then he said it. "We needed it more than you." The room exploded. Chairs scraped, voices rose. But I just stood there, cold as stone. Then you won't mind what's coming next, I told him. I grabbed my phone. He lunged. You're not calling the cops. Uncle Robert blocked him. Amber started crying. Jason shouted, red-faced, wild-eyed. Then bang, the front door flew open. Police! Everyone stay where you are. 2 officers entered, followed by a detective flashing her badge. David Coleman? I nodded. I'm Detective Harmon, Portland PD. We received a fraud alert linked to your accounts. Jason went pale. This is a misunderstanding. She held up a tablet. We have data from the bank's cybersecurity, team IP logs, device IDs, and images from your brother's failed login attempts. His jaw dropped. See, after a hacking scare last year. I'd installed security software that takes photos during login attempts and records keystrokes. I handed my phone to the detective. You'll find everything: timestamps, IP addresses, even his face. Jason's mask cracked. You set me up. No, I said quietly. I protected myself. As the officers cuffed him, he barked at Amber. You think you're safe? You're nothing without me. Amber's voice trembled, but it held. Maybe, but at least now I'm free. A month later, I stood inside my new boutique. Morning light spilling over the racks of fabric and color. Coleman Designs had survived. Not because I was lucky, but because I was ready. Because I trusted my gut. Because I refused to let betrayal define me. The bank recovered 97% of the stolen funds. The rest was covered by fraud insurance. But the real victory wasn't financial. It was seeing Amber rebuild her life, filing for divorce, getting a job, finding her voice again. She told me recently, "You were brave for protecting what you built. I want to be brave enough to rebuild myself." And she's doing it. Jason pleaded guilty to fraud, coercion, and identity theft. He's serving time now. Last weekend, the family went back to the lake house, not for a reunion, but a restart. We repainted the walls, replaced the locks, and made new rules. Real family protects, not manipulates. If you've ever had to cut out someone toxic to protect what you love, I see you. And if you're still gathering the courage, borrow some of mine. Because blood doesn't entitle anyone to break you.